checking in. Rich Clip Zap Sparky Human Seagull in the pub. Oh yes, a real in the key. Aha. Mr. Eggcake, just me. Right next to the HM Customs office, if Human Seagull is there. Tom G's here. Arthur Touche Jacks. He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy indeed. Oh, it's an advert. It looks like an advert for a game again. It does appear to be a badly animated advert for a game. Let's skip that, shall we? Lovely. So, hello, technical family. How are you? Oh, I shall not pause the screen. Sorry, it's my first time doing this, etc. Ultraviolet Sterilization by Dr. Clive. Here we go. Here's your ultraviolet sterilization for all the plagues that are going around. Goodness knows what's going round at the moment, but it's like phlegm everywhere. It's just been horrible. I need more ultraviolet myself. I need maximum ultraviolet. And the first year communion. First year communion. And people will keep suggesting this all the way through because they didn't watch the start. Goes to Barry Humphries, the comedian who passed away. It's another dead person. But a famously dead person. He was just short of 90, wasn't he? Played various funny characters. Australian comedian. To Barry Humphries. To Dame Edna, indeed. Dame Edna Everage. I think he maybe went too far with that, wearing knickers and everything, but he also had other completely male characters. I've never really seen his other characters, though, including the obnoxious politician. Sir Les Patterson, that's the one. I've my own 365 nanometer UVA light for fake sterilization, but is it 365 nanometer? I've just ordered a 48 watt nail curing thing that is powered from USB. Probably not 48 watts, but it does contain a lot of LEDs. That was not Jägermeister. Are you sure about that? So Les Patterson was a drunk, yes. So very much like most politicians. That looked like apple juice. It was not apple juice. Quark is here. He would take a bag of sandwich spread on a plane, pretend to throw up in the bag, then eat it. Juncus buffonicus. Would he really? Really, Juncus buffonius, should I say. 48 watts. It's not 40 watts. That Jaeger looks diluted. It may not actually be Jaeger. I may just have realised I've run out of Jägermeister. That may have been brandy. So it's a Brandymunion. Ah, you saw it. It's because it was too light, wasn't it? And too liquidy. But it is alcoholic. I just came in from transplanting apple tree grass salt. Hope to turn to many aspergated apple trees that are MN hardy, says John Possum. Are you going to make a hybrid tree? Does toast count if not Jaeger? Yes, it does. No fire alarms tonight. No fire alarms, but a warning to everybody in the UK. The government is testing its early warning system. Is it tomorrow? They're testing it. That they're going to send an alarm to your phone that says, "Everybody panic!" So that'll be interesting to see if it works. Will it work? What about my dual SIM phone? What's going to happen with my dual SIM phone? 3 p.m. tomorrow. Well, that's a morning wake-up call then. Yes, Jonathan Hughes, 48 watts at 5 volts is 9.6 amps. Indeed. So I don't think it's going to be what it says. Hi, Clive, show us it. What? Oh, the ultraviolet unit. It's not arrived yet. I've only just ordered it, along with a very brightly coloured USB power supply that claims to be 48 watts also. That's why the other one thing came up. I think 48 watts is the new buzzword on eBay for the Chinese sellers. What about all the other SIM-connected stuff? Yes, indeed. Don't know. Is it going to affect telemetry stuff? Don't really know. Human Seagull, Oak Hill's bitter tonight. It should be Bush's Relay. Oh, what about Odin's? Odin's Laxa is what I drink. Brain fried this week, says Mr. Eggcake. Is this a work-related thing? Oh, Johnny Fern says the dual SIM phone I would expect dual alerts. That happened to me in the past. It depends if the Isle of Man even gets it, because the Isle of Man is an entity unto itself. It'd be 4.8 watts. They forgot to type the dot. That'll be their excuse, Tornado. The other thing, I carry on from a discussion we're having on Patreon. One moment. This is a case of recognize the case. Recognize the case. This case that is an ionizer normally, this one is an energy, it's a power saver apparently. So we'll see what the circuitry is like in this. I've plugged it in already, and it's got, when you press the button to start it, because you have to press the button to turn a power saver on, it goes red, red, no, it goes blue, blue, and then red, and every so often it flashes 2 blues and a red just to show I'm doing something. The listing I bought this from said 2-pack, and one arrived. I gave it a bit of time to see if another one arrived by different postage, and then contacted them and said I only received one. They said, oh no, by 2-pack, we mean that there's 2 options. You can go for 2 different types of plugs. It's not 2 in the pack. I did not agree with that, and now they're claiming they're going to give a 50% refund. Maybe that nail thing is 48 watts plugged into a proper 90 watt type C PD. It could well be, Scruff Dog. We shall see when we get the circuitry. Any orange stuff? Orange stuff, not really. Is this orangey? It's slightly, no, it's reddish. It's slightly orangey, but reddish. I saw a lady in the news saying the alarm was quite alarming, isn't it? Like, what's the point? Indeed, Craig Matthews. And the number of people that will say, I was very emotional when it happened. How could they do? I was halfway through my latte and I spilt it. Probably that's what's going to happen. They've already complained that it's going to distress people unnecessarily. Well, maybe they should get a fucking life then. Wow. Early rant. Well, you tried to carbonate absinthe. Absinthe is quite expensive and hard to get here. Live reminder, Franco Walker. Good point. Check your little red. Live dot is lit in the progress bar. If it isn't, then get along to where it's live. If it's still live at that point in time, just in case you got started right at the beginning. Well, tell you what, Pie Man, you're right. Hold on. Here's the orange thing. It is, in fact, cheesy puffs. I think these are a universally eaten thing around the world. Any quackery? Oh, there's lots of quackery. What the alarm thing? Zap Sparky, the UK government is sending out its early warning system for fuck knows what. They're going to make everybody's phone send an alarm message. Given how incompetent they are, it probably won't work. Wonder phone alarm will go off during the Snooker World Championship, Willie Armour. Usually the snooker people will have and the audience will be asked to turn their phones off for a live performance. Peter Thiel, I'm going to presume that's Thiel. Thiel. Clive, Big Clive, Denmark here. Greetings to Denmark. I don't know what it's supposed to do when we have this. An emergency situation has occurred. Brace yourself for an atomic bomb. Oh no, what'll I do? I suppose one of the safest places, it beats the kitchen table, might be underneath a pinball machine. I think a pinball machine would be quite strong. For World War III, yes, Iron Fist, let's provoke Russia until they bomb us. That's a great idea. The top level alert you cannot turn off in the United States, Rifleman. Maybe they're going to use it to push government propaganda through. For instance, well, no, let's not go there. Major propaganda going on at the moment in the government, but not to worry. The capital of fraud thinks they can accuse other people of fraud in a huge and dramatic publicised thing to undermine other political parties, but let's not go there. Grab all the vape cells and solar panels you can, Craig Matthews. Indeed, solar lights. Talking of which, something interesting reared its ugly head when I released that video recently about the apocalypse solar lighting system, the super simple circuit that just stays lit all the time. And the someone from the Ukraine got in touch and said as soon as the bombing started, they started price gouging power bank prices. Really, the price went through the roof because people needed power for light. So the scumbags price gouged it and the price went up. And everybody went out and bought strings of LED lights. Zingaman, it is a bit political, yes. It is off the agenda. But there's a huge political thing about to happen, and that is the alarm. I'll tell you next week what it was like. John says they have done radio and TV emergency alert tests in the US at the local level for about 70 years. National tests are done the radio and TV every 2 years now. Okay, reasonable enough. I have been in Florida when there was a tornado alert. The weather was great. I liked it. I think you're supposed to rush to shelter, but I put a seat outside and watched it. I don't know if that was the right thing to do. It was great. Very stormy. I did have my contingency plan of going into the bathroom area and attaching myself to a water pipe, since that's apparently a good thing to do, but not an electrical connection. What was the alarm like, Mr. Eggcake? In that case, it was just came up on the screen over the TV. If this had been naturally merged, you would have been told where to go and what to do, Numi says. Maybe that's what it's going to be in the future. It's going to be, send us all your money. We're your government. We have no basements. You might as well go outside. Reason enough, Will Allen. Human Seagull, can't hear a thing here. The band is so loud. Well, that's typical pub bands. I was hoping it's going to be thumping dance music, but that's okay. Brad, why is that a good thing to do? Attach yourself to the plumbing, because that's where people have been found alive after these tornadoes, because the bathroom, everything was attached with copper pipe and it just anchored it down. It wasn't loose furnishings. Have little foxes played the small whirlwind. I have a lead-lined fridge I can hide in a Kirkwood. That's so handy, yes, as long as there's air. So who stole the 20M in Toronto? What's that? I don't really know what that is, Peter Stevens. Oh, 20 million. What's that? I really don't know. Don't finger flick the cat says, I'm reading a book on anti-gravity. It's impossible to put down. Indeed. Someone survived one in the bath lately, Mr. Eggcake says. Reasonable enough. Gold theft. Okay. 20 million from the airport. Okay, that must have been planned. You wouldn't think that'd be a really good thing these days, particularly when you can just sell power-saving plugs and avoid all the responsibility of people hunting you down. So you'll be celebrating St. George, Anon. When? I don't celebrate any of them. I don't even celebrate any of the other things, including the haggis one. Clive, is Ralphie a girlfriend? I don't think Ralphie is a girlfriend. He is a loner like myself, Akko 747 lied. A Sky West, the IKEA chargers do seem pretty good. Ralph, I said, could you get me one of the single-way ones? And maybe some of their cheap lamps. And what he brought back was a curly filament lamp. I said, get me the cheapest ones. I want to compare them. And also he brought me back one of the old Coppola 3-way USB chargers. Maybe I should have written it down for him. The haggis one, that's the one, Craig Matthews, the haggis. St. Andrews or whatever the fuck it is. I don't really know. I don't celebrate things like that. I don't celebrate Haggis Fest. I'll eat a haggis, Tom Houston, but don't celebrate it. And St. Patrick's Day, you guys, Jeffrey, in America, you eat all this food and drink with green food colouring in it. I don't even think they do that in Ireland. They do celebrate in Ireland. And I think they have parties here. And Poundland usually has St. Patrick's Day stuff. Does Aardvarks, it is a good excuse to get pished. Rabbi Burns, sing a man. There must be a Burns Day. I don't know what they do in it. Recite poetry. I do not get involved in the hunt on Haggis Day, Cosy. I avoid haggises because their tendency to turn and attack. Burns Night, that's the one. GS 1512, something like that. I'm supposed to be Scottish, haven't I? 420 is pretty much just American redneck atheist. That's because it doesn't work here. We have the 20th of April, 204, which doesn't work. Jerry BVR, you might get a green beer here, but if the bar person draws a shamrock in the head, they will get a poke in the eye. Surely they'd just put a wee thing over the top and then sprinkle green sprinkles on it. Sugary sprinkles. The question is, how do sewer maintenance people use tracer dye? Everything would be green from the dye. I think it just dilutes over time and breaks down, Craig Matthews. But they do probably get it. It dyes your fingers yellow when you get it on them. New Rock Boy, Big Clive, I have a question to ask you. Have you ever had electric testers, the company Fluke? Ever heard of them? Well, yes. My main test lamps are Fluke, and I also have a Fluke meter for work. Although I don't use the Fluke meter at work, because it's my precious Fluke meter. I use a more generic one instead, but I do use Fluke test lamps just because, well, it ticks the box and keeps the health and safety box tickers happy, because they're not very intelligent. No, they eat so much green, Clive, all the sewage would be the same colour as the dye. Yes, it probably does make them shit green, yes. Fluke, the brand that puts frivolous, expensive to start off with, but they just basically try and upsell you with useless features. They are. It's just a name these days, Frankel Walker. It's just a brand these days. They do a surprising number of recalls, but that's only because they're being professional about it and actually recalling it, unlike the Chinese manufacturers who don't. Talking of which, the Doogie S98 Pro has had 2 security updates so far. That's pretty good. It's unusual for a Chinese phone to get proper security updates. It said this will take a few minutes. It took much longer than a few minutes. I have a cheap Perfix, which I think multi-tester, and for the life of me, I can't get the tiny thin test leads to stay straight. Any tips, Simon Fur? If you get a set of cheap leads with a meter, you can upgrade them to newer leads, which are better quality. Still nice and stable for you. Stable. Are you sure security updates aren't adding holes, Craig Matthews? The question is just. Then again, look at one of the worst offenders for that. The phone brand that's had a security flaw in their phones for a very long time, Samsung, and have done nothing about it. Beard looking luscious, Satterwolf. I see. Is it looking deep and voluptuous? Cheap meters are fine. Mr. Eggcake falls off chair. What? 2.2 million hammers and sledgehammers recalled by DeWalt and Stanley. The heads are falling off. This happens, Simon Coates. It is a bit annoying when they fly off. Drink June will be over. Who knows, Mr. Eggcake? June occasionally just randomly calls by. Kevin was over just before the Thursday stream because he's looking for some connectors for his cooker. I just shaved my beard to the bone, Top Smoke. That is not the correct thing to do to a beard. Not voluptuous. Okay then, James Speakman. Can wooden shaft leave in a bucket of water? That's a temporary fix, is it not? What security flaw in Samsung, Mr. Phil? There is some sort of legacy security flaw that seems to affect quite a lot of them. I'm not sure there are much details about it, but people were surprised they hadn't done something about it. What's Kevin's phone number? I don't actually know Kevin's phone number. Have I written any prescriptions yet? Only for myself, Martin Balforth, mainly involving pie. I have the Eve Vlog Kickstarter meter. Did he do a Kickstarter with it? Much better than my dad's 87111, says Fan Plant. Sugar boiled linseed oil is more permanent, Craig Matthews. Suppose the oil would stay put in. Drew Dashley, I just shaved my beard and my bonds. One of those skeleton shavers works great. 3 watt advertises 10 watts. Did they exaggerate it? This is a surprise. China North there, guns. 120 volt outlet on my stove quit. Changed it out. Surprised how thin the wires are. You have outlets in your stoves. We do have 13 amp socket often on our cooker isolators here, if you have an electric cooker. The thin wiring, if it's just internal wiring, you don't have to have such thick wiring for loose wires inside a panel. Thank you, License to Drive. Nostalgia isn't what it used to be. No. Pie Man, I'm secretly continuing to grow my beard despite telling my girlfriend it's not getting any longer. All good so far. If she complains, tell her to shave her hair off. Almost football time. Can we have fizzy wine in the meantime? There is no fizzy wine. I was tempted, John, to buy a bottle of wine, but it always makes me feel crap afterwards, so I decided not to do it. I've got things to do that do not involve feeling crap. What's the thermocam like in the Doogie, as I've just ordered one as well? It's very good, Gonzo the Great. The one thing that by default it enables the overlaid picture on it, and I just go up and disable that each time. I'll have to look into the settings deep to see if it can be disabled permanently, because it's just not needed with a 256 by 192 resolution. I wouldn't call them hangovers, just feeling muzzy and a bit the heart racing in the middle of the night and stuff like that. Not great. Pool Paul split with my wife for 27 years marriage and 34 years together recently. Would appreciate a brandy minion. Things happen. People evolve and move on. It's just, that's what happens. The brandy muni isn't till the half hour though. We could slip another one in though for you. To the end of the era, and an era, and then the start of a new era. Maybe just staying single, just because, you know, sometimes it's better. So, to Pool Paul. The brandy munion. I'll have to go and get some more Jägermeister. The shops are very, very bare these days. Shelves are just missing whole sections of products. James Speakman, RuPaul. No, Pool Paul. Any piss tests today? There will not be piss tests, Simon Coates. That was strictly last week. How safe is that, man? Safe from what? It's a relatively safe-ish place in general. Single life is way better. But that's because Arthur Touchette Jackson, Big Clive, you're a bit of a narcissist. In what way? I just never had the inclination to ever marry anybody. Safe from deviance. Not so sure about that, Mr. Eggcake. Not quite so random woofle time. Woofle time is approaching. More shops in the co-op to spend your money in. There's co-op and there's ShopRite, basically. And then it's down to the little corner story type place. I shall prepare for the woofle. Sutter Wolf, been with the same fella over 25 years. It's good going. It is woofle time. Liz was here earlier. Is Liz going to miss the woofle? I think Liz has missed the woofle. Uh-oh. Bad timing. Oh, it's a floppy one. Woofle. A particularly ferocious woofle. Oh, Liz is here. Liz is here. And the second woofle. Woofle. Lovely. I'll probably give the ceiling another treatment soon. As a precaution. Ah. What do you think of people being encouraged to install surge protectors in the consumer units? Scam or a good idea? Andrew H. I'm so suspicious that it's just the electrical industry and the NIC, EIC, and all the usual suspects just basically trying to make money. I'm not really convinced about it. But if you're in a place that you've got overhead lines, you're likely to get struck by lightning. It might be beneficial. It might save your appliances. Greetings, Chris Big Bad. But I'm not really convinced. It's another consumable that will need changed after a period of time. And will they be installed correctly with a proper inline breaker? Whenever I heard woofling, it always makes my day, Tom G says. Every day I'm woofling. Do married people live longer, or does it just feel that way? I think it just feels that way, Chris Big Bad. Not really sure. There are three kinds of overvoltage protections, Frank. I think the one they're pushing here is just the metal oxide varistor, like the cheap Chinesey one that I opened up, that had the meltable link if it got too hot. You still haven't designed an automatic woofler, or Kirka. I did design an automatic woofler, but not in this style. Surge suppression is helpful, not perfect. Yes, Norm Swan. It won't always protect things. Do they save power, though? No, they don't, Pieman. But there you go. There's what I could set up a business installing modular consumer unit power savers. Do you think RCBO should be standard? To a degree, yes, actually, because a good RCBO, John Payton, doesn't consume much in the background, but they are stuffing too much electronics into a small space. Definitely the main RCDs type A are just what I would set as the minimum standard. Dave Ward has made it. This is good. Mobs pop, pop, pop. Indeed, Paul T. Mobs sometimes go nuclear. They do. That's their failure mode, Randy, which is why I'm not overly thinking that's great. I wonder how many fires will be initiated in consumer units by the metal oxide varistors failing. Waco connectors are twist connectors, Monkey Man here. Very controversial. Because I'm in the UK, we don't actually use twist connectors. You can buy wire nuts. Hold on. You can buy wire nuts here, but I'd classify them as a novelty because I've never ever seen them used, other than in some imported goods. I've still got rewirable fuse in a TNCS supply here. That's reasonable enough, electron box. There's nothing really wrong with rewirable fuses, but I would say these days augment it with a incoming RCD. Even if it's a type S RCD with that slight extra time delay and a what higher trip threshold of 100 milliamp. Wire nuts should be banned, Justin Thomas. That's very controversial. Are they even compliant here anymore? They've not been banned, Craig Matthews. They used to be ceramic and they were called screw-its in the past. I don't know if they've been banned outright. Drew Dastardly, didn't Marco Reps test all the Wagos and wire nuts? The wire nuts turned out quite good. Was it Marco Reps or was it Great Scott? Not sure. But the advantage of the wire nuts is it forces copper to copper, but not great doing copper to aluminium. This isn't an issue in the UK yet, because we don't really have aluminium wiring here much. But the Wago, the tests that were done on Wago showing them going on fire, it should be pointed out that was 100 amps. And Sparky Projects, the lead sheath vulcanized into rubber was very common. I know a house that's still got it, and I've told them that they need to rewire and they're not interested because, hey, it's working. Um, but the Wagos, the Wagos started melting. What the test didn't really point out, and was really obvious just watching it, they didn't use insulated wire because all the insulation melted off it, and the copper wire going in was glowing red hot. So you're thinking, well, is it really the Wago's fault that it failed, really? If the wires coming into it were literally glowing red hot. Thought that was a pretty unfair test. Semi-fiction. Apparently phosphor falls off, Andy Ract. Is that the streetlights changing colour? Going deep violet? Wago death test was test to failure and tend to find the failure point well beyond regular usage. One Monkey Man here. The one thing that the Great Scott one, he did show that there is a tiny bit more dissipation from the Wagos because it is a small contact point. But I think people really just melting the connectors just for drama. John Ward has done it. He did the first one, I'm pretty sure, Jack Attack, with his welder out in the garden. Everything has a melting point, William Wallace, indeed. The cables, that's also, they just melted and fell apart as well. So you're thinking the Wagos did okay. Stinky Well, the Wagos would be perfect for the lighting effects in the theatre, the set decoration, the practicals. Because you could reuse them. But a plug-in socket system could also be useful for that. I haven't seen John Ward in a while, JW. He's not put much out, I don't think. I use Wago and Pix in almost all my house projects. No issues at all, Dave Ward says. Aha. Space program satellites used to use wire wrapping more reliable than soldering. Mixed thoughts about that, Sam Coates, but I've done wire wrapping before for industrial robotics, no less. For a company that one of the things they manufactured was for loading and unloading barrels and stuff onto lorries. And it was basically, it's the thing you put your arm into and then you can just reach and grab. It basically like, you're just standing next to the machine, reaching, and then it's a big robotic claws emulating whatever your arm's doing. And you get feedback as well, so you can actually pick things up and you can feel that you're picking it up. Because a wire not as simple, it is simple, Norm Swan. Terrible for soft, flexible cores, though. Wire wrapping is cold welding, so extremely reliable, Electron Box. Not so easy to change. It wasn't ABB, was it Lamberton Robotics? We subcontracted to them. Lamberton Robotics. With their super geeky designer. I sold him because I'd managed to find two Televideo 950 terminal, serial terminal for his programming his like board computers. Brian Johnson, BT wired all the connections around the Ipswich Research Centre with aluminium. Ended up being massive problems when ADSL became comms. Crap transmitting signals. Really, maybe was it not just the inevitable resistance of the connections? Thank you, Kenneth Eloy. A toonie from Canada, because my kid Ada is watching. Ah, thank you. Greetings, Ada. Paul, do you use standard tails or flexible tails for your installation? Craig Matthews. That depends where you are in the world as well. I use standard tails for any stuff like that, I do, but obviously I don't do domestic work anymore because I'm not allowed to, because a private company decided to cash in it for some reason and duped everybody into believing them. Oh, a lot of the three-phase, the power infrastructure is aluminium, Graham Shaw. There's a reason for that. Cost, and also because it reduces the risk of it being stolen. Wago can only take one wire per whole norm swan. Yes. But you can put stranded wire into the lever type Wago terminals. And you do get multi-way, whatever you want, how many ever ways you want, you can join together. And it's easy to remove one wire instead of having to untwist all the wires again with the wire nut. There are advantages and disadvantages. I will admit that the wire nut squishes copper to copper really hard if done properly and is quite good for some terminations. Wago has been around a long time. Oh, sorry, Vago. Hmm. 221 up to 6mm. Jack attack. Is that not just the bigger 221? It's not the standard 221. Some Wagos are rated for 7-strand push-in. They are. But not flex, but you can push the stranded connectors into them. Sophilov says, I still don't trust wire nuts. It depends where you are in the world. The Americans love them, but in the UK we don't really feel comfortable with them. They look a bit old-fashioned and twisted wires. What do you think about Knipex tools? Are you even use some? Keo FPV, the Knipex, I do use Knipex side cutters. When you terminate, the 221413 and the 221613, that's a different size of connectors. I don't think I've got any of the big ones. Knipex, if you work with wires a lot, you'll appreciate good quality side cutters. Snips, as we call them. Well, I call them snips. If you actually have the configuration you want, wire nuts are less types to stock. It's true, Norm Swan. Also, while neither is really suitable for submersion water, the wire nut's probably going to survive dampness better. Why not use crimp ferrules and electrical tape? You could. And chalk block, which used to be the main thing here in the UK, and the horrible round terminal blocks with the screws, the brass screws, the wee short grub screws that you tighten it down, you only get one turn because it's a bit ungenerously sized. Can you sniff Knipex? You could, Matty England, I'm not really sure. I thought Knipex was said with a silent K. Some people here would call it like knife Knipex, but I'm pretty sure it's Knipex. Do I have any Knipex? Hold on. Yeah, my bench ones are Knipex. Do the blade test when you look at it through the light. Always feels a bit awkward, but I do that when I buy them in the shop. I've had a bad set of Knipex in the past. They're not always perfect. You find that the companies get overconfident. Look how loose they are as well. That's great. I've not been using them outside for a while. The companies just tend to sit back and rest in the laurels after a while and put out bad tools. Is LED sign on the right self-made? The Big Clive Live sign is it's a video wall panel with a dedicated advertising module just hooked up to it. Who makes your favourite luxury snips? Now, the posh ones that I use are Xuron, but I don't use them as much as the cheap ones just because I keep them for specialist applications. Yeah, these are so... Smack the pivot with a ball peen hammer, Mondo Dash brush. It's fine, actually. But they are getting loose. They've seen a lot of abuse. Usually it's when they get wet, when you're working outdoors, and then you have to spray them with WD-40 and just force them open and close until they get loose again. And you can see all the rust oozing out the pivot. Pronounce all letters, please. Okay, Paul T. Zurons are the best. They're very high profile, David Horrors. Well, damn, did I pronounce that correctly? I'll call it Hoers. That's better. Instead of calling you David Horrors. Do you have any fish in that tank in the hallway, Rose White? There is not a tank in the hallway. Oh, Vago, that would explain it. Vago is named after inventor Wagner and Albrecht. The guys who originally invented spring clamp technology had to pronunciation Vago, so it is Vago. That does make sense, as in Wagner. Jude Ashley, my favourite side cutters are a pair I bought at the Sunday market in 1988 and I still have them. You get attached to tools, you get comfortable with them, they just feel right in the hand after a while. WD-40 is water-based. I'm not sure it is. I'm pretty sure it's solvent and oil. Not come across the Kennedy ones. Where's your drink? It's right here. Is Brendan your doppelganger? I do notice the image has been used. That's fine. There's no spring in these ones. I've kind of like, you do get versions that you can click this spring over if you want to use it or not. But I prefer it not to because I tend to like, I don't need the spring. I use the snips like this. So you're pushing it open when you're using it. I love that mug, just saying, indeed, Numi. Well, they have actually introduced it, their image, back onto the, with the guy, the 12 disciples, or 10 disciples, the disciples, and Jesus in the middle, and the guy snorting coke off the table at the end. They have introduced that image back onto something moral. What is it again? Something skipmoral.com, I think it is. WD-40 is also a vitamin. I'm not sure I'd use it as a vitamin. It's a throat spray. Jesus Christ, I cup now. I've seen it all, indeed. You watch the Starship launch. I watched a bit afterwards. They're going, and then you see exploding. They're going. So it's then silence. It's blowing up. That's fine. Are they rated for 1,000 volts? These ones, yeah, they will be. 1,000 volts, yeah, they are VDE compliant. The German industry standards. WD-40 isn't a lube, it is not, Mr. Eggcake, it is a water displacement. It acts as a lubricant temporarily, but actually has the effect of washing grease out of bearings, so it's not a long-term fix. Did I miss out? You didn't, Pie Man. Calgon products, no Calgon in them, Mark and Gully. I didn't even know what Calgon is, to be honest. I find the mug blasphemous and offensive, Pool Paul. I didn't even realise that it had that in the end. I just liked it because all the wee bearded guys, I thought it was quite nice, all the different styles that had been drawn in. And it was an Asian shop, and it's only when I was actually drinking from at home and I was just looking at the pictures and then saw one snorting coke off the end. I went and bought another. I should have bought more. It was in an Asian outlet shop, the ones that are always about, you can't attack our religion, and then they put up blimmin' the disciples snorting coke off tables. Yes. Kate Eberhard, everybody has blown a hole through their side cutters or pliers at one point. I did it as well. Dramatically. It was very loud. It just kept shooting sparks out the end of the cable afterwards. And I was standing a plank across some trestles with loads of painters on it, and they just all started scattering left, right, and centre. Jesus was the original bear. Yes, Okirka. Technically speaking, God was the original bear. All these weird religions that make their men grow beards. I mean, I approve of that. See, what would I ask Jesus? No real questions. I'd say, any chance you could convert some of this water I've got here to wine? Would it have been good wine? WD-40 is mostly paraffin with a solvent. Yes, it certainly doesn't contain fish oil. I welded my favourite side cutters. This happens. Oh, the washing machines live longer with Calgon. Thank you, Kiosk FPV. Much appreciated. All those men wear beards because shaving hadn't been invented yet. It would have been a bit tricky. A skinny. It would have been sore to shave, particularly with the stubblier hair. Jesus would not have had a carbonating machine, Leon Pipers. He'd have simply waved his hand over the wine and it would have been carbonated. Water, wine, carbonated wine. Shaving is a health hazard. Yes. You'd have had to shave with flint rock edges or hard shells. Yes, not nice. Probably loads of mites too. Well, my beard is very hygienic. It's fine. There are treatments. Oils. I guess they'd have put beard oils in for hygiene purposes as well, because huge fear about algal blooms. Relatively hard to get the original chemical, Mark and Gully says. What? Do you remember Draper Tools? They still sell them, don't they? Draper Tools? Draper's still a brand. Did you just assume Jesus' gender? Well, he did wear a frock. Anyway, I'm going to get beer. It's going to be the Spanish beer with the beard. Trying to remember the name of it. I don't buy a huge amount. I shall go and get it. Should I surge it? Hold on, I'll ask. I'll make a poll while I'm away. Poll. Should I surge my beer on the Guinness Surger? Ask your community. Madria. It's not Madria, but it sounds like that. Mad arse. I shall go and get it. And the Surger, apparently. Oh, did you say Madre? Madre. It is Madre. With the stylish beard and the bonnet and matching checked waistcoat and a chrysanthemum or something stuck in the front of it. Let's see if I can do better than I did during the Patreon stream and tip this thing up. Before I was ready to tip it up and just poured beer everywhere. Is this going to turn it into foam? I think there's a good chance it's going to turn it into foam. It fits. It's nice that they didn't make a different size of can. Oh, it's foaming. It's foaming. It's doing the surging thing. What am I getting here? I'm getting a big can of... I'm getting a glass of foam, haven't I? Yes, I am. Yes, that worked as well as one might expect. It has created a glass of foam. It's got a rare head to it. Much explosion predicted, indeed, Sofa Lofa. ASMR sounds. Can you actually hear the whooshing noise of that when it surges it with ultrasonic energy? That video is coming very soon. That video might be released next. That video might be released today. Or do I release a flashlight one today? It's an interesting flashlight one. I might release the Surger one. Ah, the bubbling. Well, I just make a fool of myself by just getting foam all over the moustache. There we go. What is that nozzle thing? Coming soon, Jamie Ludberg. It is a surger. Thank you, Will. Oh, hold on, it's just shot right by. Thank you, Will 1985. Much appreciated. This is a Guinness surger. It uses ultrasonic energy to surge the nitrogenated drinks and create a controlled amount of liberated nucleation of the nitrogen. The stash is the foam holder. Halford screwdrivers are really good for money. I've heard some of Halford's tools are pretty good, Lee Gooder. No UV ozone. Not really. A video also coming soon. Have I released that one yet? I don't think I have. The HEPA air cleaner? Have I released it? I don't think I have. Thank you, 404 Not Found. Much appreciated. Looks like you blew a seal, Clive. Indeed. Does the surger have replaceable batteries? No, it is completely sealed, John Payton. But thank you, Mr. Eggcake. Much appreciated. Good head indeed. But it contains 2 nickel metal hydride cells and a rechargeable port. It's got the USB recharging on the back here. And it's very well made. Maybe I'll release that video next. Oh, I released it on Patreon, but I've not released the... okay. It's actually, literally, it's the machine that goes ping. And the way it goes ping is fantastic. The HEPA filter unit, it took a lot of reverse engineering. It took something like 5 hours to reverse engineer the circuit board. Because they'd used so many techniques to minimize the circuitry in a HEPA air filter unit. Springs for buttons, indeed, DCM. It had the springs for the touch buttons. Can't disappoint the nitrous oxide thing was a druggies. W might have absorbed it. What? Red Farm, not really sure. But when the HEPA unit video gets released, you'll appreciate the circuitry and realise that it's just a big fan in a box. And it does contain the bipolar ionizer, which is the one that they don't like saying that it's basically an ozone generator and does hydroxyl radicals and all the other things they claim. A hydroxyl radical being 1 atom of oxygen attached to 1 atom of hydrogen. It's a molecule, a temporarily short-lived molecule. Everyone takes some sort of drugs, therefore everyone is a druggie. Indeed, Satyr Wolf. I saw a Karen tantrum today. It was the aftermath. A crushed Costa cup and coffee everywhere that someone had obviously just smashed it down out of some rage. I'm not really sure. Was it Fran? I don't know. Does Fran drink coffee, Paul T? I'm not really sure. It does look like summer's in the way, John Cattrall. This is good. Where was that? The coffee, James Speakman? Just in a doorway next to an auto teller. There was crushed cup and coffee everywhere. I tried to quit drinking coffee. I felt terrible. Will Allen, you maybe have to just bring yourself off it. The way I cut my coffee intake down, I refill my own Nespresso pods. I've got little refillable ones. I just mix 50-50 decaf and standard coffee to put into them. Oh, of course. Fran does live in Philadelphia, which is the home of coffee shops. Drew Dastardly. Jaeger time. It is almost Jaeger time. Bill Richard, hi Clive. Sorry I'm late. Was re-wicking a couple of RTAs. That'll be vaping devices, I would guess. Oh, talking of which, I bought another a vaping device. It's time for a Brandeminion. See, it is a lot lighter, isn't it? I should have gone for something darker. This is not Jägermeister. This is brandy. Hopefully they'll get some Jägermeister in soon. Only the co-op sells Jägermeister. The ShopRite doesn't sell Jägermeister. So the brand Dominion too. Let me think. ZX Renew, you're fairly late. Dame Edna Everidge. Well, that was the first Jaeger Munion. But to be honest, I could do it too, Dame Edna, since it's a character of the person who's passed away. But technically speaking, that is the same person. So I'm going to make it to. Oh dear. The SpaceX. Yes. SpaceX. Let's bang one down for SpaceX for doing the research that needs to be done. Nothing works the first time. It's a very expensive experiments they're doing. They're sharing them with everybody. They're saying, look, it blew up, lol. Here's what happened. This is great. I have every confidence that they'll get all the problems solved. And there's loads of research has come out of that. Madge indeed, Mr. Eggcake. I didn't watch too much of that stuff. I remember the miserable old lady called Madge. They cheered when it blew up, SpaceX employees, Monkey Man here. Well, it is kind of exciting. Madge was her bridesmaid, I see, John Key. Without failure, you can't have success, Colin Napier. Keep in mind they are doing some major science. You're not going to get it right first time. It's like software. I heard it was a controlled detonation because separation didn't occur. Yes, it went upside down to separate. I'm not really sure what the science of that is. Does it make it easier for it to separate? Or does it go upside down, then it just falls off? I'm not really sure. It didn't fall off. Human seagulls drinking more beer. This is not a surprise. Can we see your bedroom? No, you can't. Just go into a workwear shop that's full of overalls. That is what my bedroom looks like, with a bed in it. Kombucha, Cambridge Mark. Kombucha's alright. I had a kombucha thing going for a while. It is slightly alcoholic. That's why the commercial kombucha sold in cans is not proper kombucha because of alcohol regulations. It blew the pad apart. The parts wrecked the engines. Were the cameras, were they just standard action cameras, I wonder? Who knows? How many overalls do you have? I've not counted them, Matty England. But if I wore a different overall every day, keep in mind I collect overalls, then I'd be able to wear a different overall every day for probably years. Mark and Gully, I need to make my own kombucha so it won't be so sweet. It definitely isn't sweet, it's more vinegary. Some very expensive remote 4K cameras. Jerry BVR, you'd think they could use standard cameras. In a case. Do you have mothballs? Actually, I do have mothballs, but I don't really. I keep that room locked and secure against bugs and stuff like that. NSF's camera van was smashed in by flying concrete. What? There's a good Scott Manley video about what happened. People keep saying, are you Scott Manley when you hear the voice, Mark Gray? Just because we're both Scottish doesn't mean that we're the same person. We never see you wearing overalls. I'd have to be at work to do that, Zingaman. I have worn overalls in previous streams in the darkest depths of winter when it was actually pretty chilly and I had Canadian overalls on, the sort of the thermal ones that come up quite high. Does having mothballs affect your sex life? Yes, Bill Richards. I saw the van getting smashed by debris. Oh, he's referring to pad damage when Starship lifted. Half the media cameras are knocked over. Oh, right, okay. You have a far better voice than Manly. Really, I thought his voice was okay, Fan Plant. Geeky Scots. The beard pulling overalls, no, that's Carhartt's Scary West. It's the one that Carhartt's are the absolute worst for being the iconic American workwear. The clip on them, when you bend over and it moves, it traps the hair in it and then just drags hairs out when you straighten up again. Well, actually, you mix mothballs with Coca-Cola. I'm not really sure. To be honest, the mothballs I have, don't even tell you what's in them. I don't know if it's camphor or if it's what is that other one? What's the one they used to use for mothballs and in toilet blocks? Naphthalene. That's the one, garbage user. Naphtha, zebra the fat. Naphthalene. Naphtha is the liquid fuel, is it not? But these ones smell great. You need a man bun to wear Carhartt now. Well, it is a fashion thing, DCL. Do you know, if you went on to eBay Co UK, you'd get really wrecked overalls being shipped over from America, and they're selling for more than a brand new pair of overalls in America. Asbestos, what? But these are real, which makes a change because I bought some before, and they were actually little plaster balls with a little hint of the whatever it was, camphor or whatever, and they gave the correct smell. They had the correct shape and size, but they were still their ages when they should have dissolved, and then it was just basically just a odor-free pellet of plaster, very cheap and nasty. These ones are real. If you're in Glasgow and you want some of these, it's the Asian Pound Shop opposite McDonald's on Sauchiehall Hall Street. They have the real thing, solid camphor or naphthalene, so it's very good value actually. It's very hard to get. Taste of peppermint. I'm not going to taste them. Houston. I bought lots of them because I was thinking that's great to get hold of those. They don't smell like cherries. They smell like basically camphor. Very distinctive aromatic smell. Have you used moth traps out of paper? I've not, New Rock Boy. I don't really have a problem with moths. If I see the little gold moths appear, the clothes moths, I nip that in the bud. But to be honest, a lot of the workwear is synthetic anyway. Also, some of it is the flame-proof, so it contains the boric compounds, boron compounds, which isn't really friendly to moths. Found mucky overalls in a lay-by, Mr. Eggcake. Some people would call that a find. The snag about that is they'd never fit me. They never do. Nothing ever fits me. Even at a young age, it was hard getting overalls. At the steelworks, they used to give me just the biggest they had. So you'd end up with this really short overalls, like a tent, but really just stretched over your body. They didn't fit. Even the ones I've got that do fit, they're a very close fit. Can't find camphor blocks here anymore. Zingaman, maybe you want to try? Well, you can try eBay, because they sell camphor blocks on eBay here, the little tiny pellets. Let me just go and grab some. Here they are, just feeling like they're all just dissolving in the thing. Little blocks like this, and each one is several tablets. Let me just open one. I used this while I was making the cheat in here. They're kind of like, they're compressed, but they've got indents, so it looks bigger. These are sort of religious ceremony type ones, but I used them when I was making my Fitzroy Stormglass. So what they look like inside is, oh, I'll just ping it everywhere. Try not to get it in my drink. They look like little tablets like this, but you're not supposed to eat them. And they've really pressed them in to make them small. Yeah, that's going to stink. Oh well, that'll keep the moths away. Smells good. Mothballs been around for years. They have indeed. This, I'll just leave this down here, shall I? It's not, I might put it in the pack. I heard you can still get asbestos gloves in the army exchanging hot gun barrels. I'm not sure they would be asbestos now, but having said that, Chrysotile white asbestos isn't quite the bad reputation of blue asbestos. I've mentioned that before now. Have I managed to get any of this camphor into my beer? That's the question. I didn't see it splash. I'll put this thing through here. I'd like for those tablets from the dollar store, the pound shop in Glasgow, to be naphthalene, because that's what I wanted. I don't see anything in here, so it should be fine. Keep the mothballs out of reach of wee babies, Paul T. There are no wee babies here. Get your spin. I need quadruple XL or they don't go over my shoulders. Indeed, it's the problem of being big. Do they have a logo on them? Send me your big, huge overalls with logos. That's probably not a good thing to do if you live in America, given the cost of shipping these days. Monkey Man here is indeed a wee baby-free zone. No wee babies. You can test the melt point to see if it's naphthalene dichlorobenzene. That would involve a controlled test. I have lit it in a previous video. Maybe was that Patreon? I can't remember. Tell. Newsicat, I have no overalls. Don't eat wee babies. Well, that's all right for you to say, the happy little fox at AK Benji, but I'm Scottish, so get in my belly. Can consumed. Next can, please. The really fluffy, powdery blue asbestos get your spin is the one to beware of, common in old high temp flues, which looks just like tumble dryer fluff. If you've got jeans in your tumble dryer and it comes out that blue fluff, that's what blue asbestos looks like. It's the dangerous one. It's in the most volatile for getting into the air, and it's the strands that get into your lungs are the bad news. I'll just put this stuff through. While making the video, more madre, while making the video about the air conditioner, I was looking up because it said it was there's also brown asbestos. I don't think I've ever come across that, Randy, but it's also a harmful one. Is it crocolite asbestos? Can't remember which is which. It's the asbestos with the straight strands that is the problem. The chipmunk, yeah, Clive, saw that hole we drilled in the ceiling, that hole got filled fast. Absolutely. Stuff it back in, tape over the hole straight away. When's the big Clive big meetup happening? Who knows? Arsha 2 said Zach's not really sure. Crocodolite. Was that deep fried? Big Clive laughed. What? Deep fried? Babies. Foam that one too? No, because it's too foamy. You can get asbestos crystals for display. That'll be the hard mineral form. The problem with asbestos was the fact it broke down to increasingly crocidolite. Yes. Wasting beer is a sin. Well, it gets drunk. 68 minutes late, says Randy Smith. That's fine. So China still uses so much asbestos, chrysotile asbestos, that's the white asbestos with the curly strands, that typically speaking, this isn't just the end, this isn't like medical advice, even though I am a doctor, not really. The chrysotile asbestos, if you've been exposed to it, it's the white stuff that used to be used in brakes. They don't use the straight strands in brakes because they were too abrasive, so they use the curly strands, the chrysotile asbestos. And it's often used in the white board asbestos and also many electrical applications. It's not as bad as the blue and brown ones. If you've been exposed to it in small quantities, just general exposure at work, not the people stuffing it in as loft insulation and stuff like that, then your lungs will have cleared it out in a few weeks. It will be out. It won't be in your lungs anymore, most likely. But that's not to say you should expose yourself to it. Lots of scaremongering around it. Where did you find Reel of 1000 A2SHB electron box? Online. That's all I can really say. What's the deepest you ever had to wade through? What? Arthur True says Jackson. The deepest I've waded through in waders was about waist height, and it was water under a water tower and I was running cables. No, you didn't see someone exposing themselves, Paul T. I remember being a stupid kid and throwing bricks onto the corrugated asbestos roofs of band garages, white asbestos. Not a huge major risk, particularly for outdoors, but... What's my broken arm cast made of? It's blue asbestos, Brad. No, I'm not really sure what the fibre is in that. I've bought orange washers for computers from China that were so-called asbestos washers. I have a feeling it's different material. Naomi, it's not guaranteed not to be asbestos. I'm pretty sure asbestos will be shipped in some products to the UK. A good example of that, and I'll show you one I'm very suspicious about. I've not used this in a long time, mainly because I used to use it to seal the kits and stuff up when I sold them. This is one of the heat sealers, right? And it's got the silicone pad on here, and then it's got the Teflon tape, and then it's got a metal strip that passes high current through, but it sits underneath on something that looks suspiciously like some sort of asbestos linoleum, and the strip sits straight on it. I'm pretty sure that's asbestos. There's just no saying. You don't know what you're getting from China because they don't give a fuck about our standards. And why should they? We're buying stuff directly from them. They're selling what's available in the local market. That's why we're getting it. Mineral fibre. Well, asbestos is mineral fibre, John Clello. I've never thought of putting the beard through it. I get the feeling that it would instantly chop the beard off. I do make a point on the asbestos subject of just reminding people that if they've been exposed, because you get older people that have been working their whole life, they grew up in the asbestos era. I got exposed to blue and white asbestos, unfortunately. Not too much blue, but definitely lots of white asbestos, possibly. Whatever was in those ceiling tiles. Just because the ceiling tiles were white doesn't mean it was white asbestos, but they were asbestos. And I remember getting called into a meeting when at EGI Steel & Co Electrical Engineers, they called a meeting. We all went into the main sort of boardroom and they said, we're just finding out that, you know, asbestos is considered quite harmful and maybe causing lung problems. Just be aware of this. If you come across it, let us know. And I said, I think the job we're working on has asbestos tiles we're working on right at the moment. We're putting speakers and lights in them. And he said, yeah, we know about that. And it was like, and that was it. And then we kept working with the fucking asbestos. Lovely. DCR and I was exposing the power station anywhere there was thermal insulation. A massive industry in cleanup, while halfway around the world they're chucking out more. Absolutely, Sofalofa. Do you know, China uses so much white asbestos, chrysotile asbestos, they actually import it from Russia. I think they're still mining asbestos in Canada. Chipmunk agate white asbestos explosion in the early 90s just used to happen. The reason I mention it is because for the people who are thinking, am I going to get asbestosis from that? The chances are you're not. It's when it was all loose, fluffy blue asbestos was the biggest risk. Asbestos overalls were sold, Paul T. The tanker drivers used to wear asbestos overalls. It was everywhere. Does the fire extinguisher work? Yes, it does, GRS CO1. One can still buy construction asbestos in Mexico. This house here has asbestos. My bedroom has asbestos because I can hear that distinct ringing when you tap a sort of arch bit like this in the actual bedroom, but not this stuff here. This is newer. Fireman uniforms were and are too. Onyx, there was a place in East Kilbride called the Sarco, Scottish Asbestos and Rubber Co. Sexy. I bought a pair of fireman's overtrousers from them back when they used to be the PVC, the yellow overtrousers, the combustible ones. Fortescue Gimlet, too many mothers and daughters got asbestosis from washing their father's overalls. Now, they claim that the father didn't get asbestosis, but the mother did. Was that really the case? Or did they just say, yeah, it was probably asbestosis? Maybe this just goes to show you can be too clean. You should just stuff it in the washing machine and be done with it. House roofs were white with dust next asbestos factory in Armley, Leeds, indeed. Sandcoats. In some parts of the world, they just mixed the local white mineral with a carrier to paint their houses with. They painted in asbestos paint. Village Wolf, carpenter friend bragged about cutting it with a handsaw while smoking. Don't know if that's something to be proud of. Cutting a handsaw, bad idea. Smoking at the same time, not really helping. I think smoking was a major aggravant factor. There is a place called Asbestos. Tom Scott did a video about that. They didn't change the name of the place because they felt it would be taken away from its history. My ceiling is Artex asbestos. There is apparently the white chrysotile is used in some old Artexes, Mick Spanner, but it is well encapsulated. My mum and dad both worked at the Cape, the most notorious asbestos factory in England. Frank Wog, you see, you have to remember that at the time they just didn't know. It was this miracle fibre. It did happen in Southampton, Clive, still turning up because dock workers bulk unloading. Chipmunk, Many kit builds. Scottish schools were full of asbestos. Yeah, Graham Shaw. The thing is, it's a woman who actually twigged that something was wrong. She saw the pattern of asbestos and she was pushing for it, and everybody was saying, oh, nonsense, you know, we've used it for years and it's absolutely fine. But she was saying this might be causing, and she was absolutely correct. Women are very, very good at spotting patterns. They make great researchers. You watched Tim's new video featuring the Ride of Life. Now, I agree with him. I left a comment in that video. Dime bar time, Pete Webb. Now you just want, I want a dime bar now. Has Tom Scott ever mentioned your name? I'm not really sure. Asbestos tampons were great. They'd certainly prevent explosive blowouts, yes. More projects, please. I should do more projects, Oscar Wilder. Anyway, yeah, Mitsubishi PLCs. I've got exactly the same complaint he has. You can buy a Mitsubishi PLC for a few £100, but the software, to be even able to program it, is about £500, is it? Just to get the software. And you're thinking, there are clone PLCs available. Hold on, let me just see if I can find one. A Chinese clone PLC, little dinky one. And Mitsubishi are really missing it. Thank you, Voltar 2M Stereo, much appreciated. So this is a little PLC, programmable logic controller. Very small number of inputs and outputs. It also has an auxiliary card with a display in it, digital display and the buttons. And this is programmed via a serial link. It's a copy of some Mitsubishi controllers. And obviously Mitsubishi aren't going to be pleased about that. And I have looked at programming these. I wanted to make a video about them, but I'm not going to download software that says, hey, free crack download, because I'm sure it'll be very common in China. But I'm not going to risk putting that in a PC. My confidence in PCs is low already. I just don't trust Microsoft. So complicated and bug-filled. Anyway, Mr. buys is used off eBay. You can buy it used, Randy, but you still need to buy the software. Now, I learned on Mitsubishi PLCs, but back then, you had the PLC, but you clipped a big plate on top that had buttons and digital displays, and you programmed it actually on the PLC. But I think Mitsubishi are missing a trick, because do you remember Microchip? Back when it was Arizona Microchip, they made their PIC microcontroller programming systems affordable. They made the software free, and it was cheap to buy the basic programmer. So everybody got into programming PIC microcontrollers, and when you grow up with PIC microcontrollers, you tend to keep using them. I would still choose PIC because that's what I used. So therefore, if you had college students wanting to learn PLCs, say, here's the free software. You could buy the real PLC, or you could use these fake ones to learn on. But obviously, you can't use cheap Chinese fake ones. You can't use them in a factory. They're probably used in Chinese factories. You cannot use them in Western factories because it's just a liability nightmare. So the students would use what they're familiar with, which was Mitsubishi PLCs, and they'd have basically got a huge extra market. But no, instead they alienate them by pricing the students out of being able to afford to program their systems. That was a rant. It's probably free to colleges. Yes, it's not just colleges, it's people at home experimenting. It's the dabblers that end up working. It's the maintenance guys, the geeks like us who end up doing maintenance in factories, and yeah, it's not great. Many cheap PLC with free software. See, that's good. But the ride of life looked pretty good, actually. A lot of work went into that. Those washing machines were great. Ah. Pick so far out of my comfort zone. I doubt I have my great for. It's whatever you grow up with, Arduino. Electron-Mox, you do get ruggedized industrial Arduino interfaces. You also get industrialized Apple Pies when they're affordable, when the chips aren't. Direct Logic PLC. Yes, there are cheaper ones. I think UK uses Siemens PLCs. Jonathan Hughes. We use a whole range here. Can the software be protected? Yes, probably pseudomemes, but I don't like the risks associated with that. Contralino is a industrial Arduino, any good electroshed. The problem is that a real PLC boots instantly, and if it crashes, it just shuts down. It's got loads of safety features in it. I just bought a heat pump dryer. What are your thoughts on them? They're good ideas then, the tumble dryers. Raspberry Pi is going that route, free to learn. At Disney, all they used was Alan Bradley PLCs. I was talking about Tim, indeed. Yes. Tim Hunkin. I didn't realise it was PLCs he used in that. I thought it was CAM sequencers like he originally used. Do you have to use a passport coming from the island to mainland? No, for nautical. You do need identification, which could be a passport or a driving licence. Heat pump dryers are slow. I don't know if they are slow. They're quite efficient, but more complex. AB is really expensive. Yeah, they just standardized. Disney is US based. Yes, Jonathan Hughes. Someone just got in touch with me recently. Someone I apparently worked alongside at Disney Paris. R.I.P. Alan Bradley Blackpool tram accident. Was that a soap opera instant? Liz Edwards says, what's the time? It's PLC time. It's Programmable Logic Controller Woofle time. Mitsubishi Software. Woofle. There goes their future business. So short-sighted. Woofle. There's also that thing. You say, I'm going to try one of these PLCs things, because I heard good things about them. And you go and you buy one, and you get it back home, and you say, right, how do I program it? They say, oh, you need the software. It's going to cost more than the fucking PLC. And it's like, fuck you, Mitsubishi. Fuck you up your stupid fucking ass sideways with a fucking PLC. Is that being bitchy? That is a line from G and Silent Bob. You have almost 1 million. It's a long way off a million, Monkey Man here. It's slow growth for a technical channel. It was a rant. How tall can you get Stream Bubbles to go lines to drive? Taller if it was hydrogen or methane. No, I'm not going to burn the beard off, Meg 5. What's the laundry dryer screen lint dust made of, Brad? Well, usually just fluff of synthetic and real fibres. Could it be a fake passport? I'm not really sure I'd want to really risk that. "3 p.m. alarm tomorrow, indeed. Yes. Have you received a tattoo call yet? Yes, Scary West, but being freelance, I never like to just assume everything is going to, that I'm working there until I'm there. No matter how long I've worked in the job. It may be different this year. Karat may be the crew chief this year. Government alarm smartphones, indeed. If you're in the UK, your smartphone is going to make loud noises at 3 p.m. tomorrow as a test of the emergency broadcast system. Rifleman, Mitsubishi has considerable issues in their upper management, sometimes make decisions that are contrary to the progress of the company. It's an old, inbred company, just like all the other ones. Yeah. Fuck you, Mitsubishi, for not making your software free so I can program clones. And then move on to the real thing, obviously, later on. Snorkers, International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. It's not international, by the way. It's not over here. The Electricians Union. And they're all saying it's your International Brotherhood and Sisterhood of Electrical Workers. Comes across as a bit of a mafia, to be honest, at times. But not all divisions. Mitsubishi has their fingers in every industrial pie. You get Mitsubishi elevators, pseudo memes. I think it's Mitsubishi that one of their elevators just has suffered a software glitch and took off while an old lady was getting out and she got chopped in half or something like that. And they failed to do what you're supposed to do in Japan and apologise immediately to the company profusely because it's the done thing. They wouldn't do that in America, would they? No, they didn't do it there either, and it got them bad press. In America, they'd be saying, oh, that's like admitting liability. All sex is unisex, it is. Humans. I saw a business card of Mitsubishi Cement. They've got their finger in every pie, pseudo memes indeed. Many of the companies do. They are without honour. Indeed, Ravenony. Mitsubishi bought Prince's Foods in UK, really, sound quotes. I'm in two unions, Equity and Bectu. The Broadcast Entertainment Cinematograph and Theatre Union. The only reason I'm in it is because it covers the 10 million liability insurance that I'm forced to have for working in the entertainment industry. Oh, and Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, of course, they've got the excavators and stuff like that. Cambridge Mart. They're big. I bet they make automatic toilets and vibrators, probably, that you can use together. Oh, they do make sex toys. Yeah, that would fit, but they wouldn't call it Mitsubishi. They'd call it Shove It In Me. What makes PLCs so safe? They have, wasn't safe for that old lady. Oh, I think that was a software error. Either a brake failure or a software error. When a brake fails in an elevator, it'll go up the way because the counterweight is heavier than an empty car. The counterweight in an elevator is balanced for half the weight of for the same weight as a fully loaded car. That's the point they'll be in balance. So if an elevator is empty or full, it's at its maximum load. If it's got a half load, it's at its most efficient. That's just to make it easier for gripping onto the rope and brakes and stuff like that. Have you ever singed your beer during WUFO? Yes. I don't really know what's going to happen. I don't think the Alexa will be involved in the warning. Has anyone tried those open lifts? You're talking, Aaron Llewellyn, the Paternoster, the ones that are just, yeah. Although they do make open ones as well, that just basically the doors close on the outside, it's a swing door, and then it's just open. There was one at the library in East Kilbride when I was young. I remember how scary it was. I was like backing up against the lift because you could see the wall going past. It just didn't have an inner door. And people weren't dumb. They didn't go, man, make my fingers in it. Oh, it got pulled off. Favorite morning pastry? I don't really have morning pastry, Scott Taggart. I had some croissants recently, but not my thing really. I have porridge. They'll actually wheel drove a man lift. Did it actually? I thought it was just a pump. John Key. The best lift weight engineer I met was an Indian guy called Balan Singh. That's terrible, Simon Coates. Norm Cookie, what's this with East Kilbride? My Nan's side of the family are there. Well, East Kilbride, Troon. Oh no, East Kilbride is not in Troon. It's the Glasgow's overflow city. Same thing in colliery cages. It just saves all the complexity of doors and things like that. But have you seen that video of the guy who's in a lift and it's making scraping noise? Then you hear a bang and a plank falls over from an alcove in the lift shaft and it goes in and it falls over, and then as the lift passes, it slams it up against the wall, the real bang, and then it skids up, hits the metal frame of the landing above, and then grinds down the side of the lift, and the guy's like, videos his hand shaking like that afterwards. Where do you work now, Clive? Wherever I'm given work, Mag 5. Do your Agreco employee impression again, Top Smoke. I'm not sure. Have I done Agreco employee impressions? It's probably something along the line of, the circuit breaker's tripping, let's wind it up really high. That's pretty much what they do. Agreco is a big corporate entity. They're not noted for proper training. I'm sure they have good engineers, but they also employ a lot of casual labour as engineers. What big box stores do you have, Paul T? Over in the Isle of Man, we have B&Q and we have Curry's. That's the only ones that come to mind. I can say purple burglar alarm, Anon. It might not sound right to you, but it sounded fine to me. Elevators are indeed safer than stairs, but if the elevator breaks down, remember the safest thing to do is stay in it until you're rescued and not try and force the doors open and crawl out. Oh, the guy in the electric scooter going into that barrier. Oh, he can't have been in a good condition after that. It's this one that you see him blasting down a hill, and there's just this barrier in the way, and he doesn't see it, and it just makes that bang, and you see him just stop dead and bounce back off the barrier, and the scooter flicks underneath, and then he's just going, ah, and you think it doesn't continue at that point. Can't say yellow. What? How can we become a spanner in your chats? By behaving immaculately, Mike 5. New Ninja was in a tube rolling mill once when the sheet steel jumped out of the machinery. What a noise. To me, the loudest noise in a steelwork was when the ingot was passed through the rolling mill, and at the end, when it rolled it up into a drum. The sound when the end came off the rolling mill and onto that drum was just deafening. It was great. Aren't you supposed to hit the alarm? Yes, you can. Or you can actually use your phone if it's not in a Faraday cage. But yes, hit the alarm and it should summon assistance. I saw a guy crushed by one of those red hot sheets, apparently died. I bet that smelled nice for nautical. This is why I got danger money when I was at the steelworks. It was actually marked on the pay slip as danger money. And being young and liking the steelworks, I just thought free money, it was fine. Wish I could find one of those old pay slips with danger money marked in it. You cannot get yourself out in the elevator. The top is locked. Not always, Norm Swan, but I don't recommend it. I keep an open mind to unions. I like the idea. Unions are correct when done properly, Jonathan Hughes, but not when they become protection rackets. China mods are spanners. That's a bit rude indeed. I remember an acquaintance on the internet bragging about how every single member of his family was an electrician because his dad ran the union. It's like, to me, the correct people to become electricians should be people who are competent at electrical work and not just randomly employed for being family members. It just smacks of somebody who doesn't really know what they're doing, just there because, well, family connections. That's not good. He must have broken some ribs, absolutely, Alan Tidbury, that incident with the scooter. An old fella rammed the lift doors 4 or 5 times till he went through the door. DCM, that was the person in the wheelchair, the electric wheelchair, the fat person in the electric wheelchair, the angry fat person in the electric wheelchair who, because as he approached the lift, the doors closed, he just kept ramming the doors out. It was like really angry, just ramming them, and then he just burst right through the doors and fell down the shaft and died. Well, that's one problem removed from society. I have no sympathy at all. Arsehole. What do they think's behind it? It's a lift shaft. Do you carry out tools when you go shopping? No, I don't. Really, I don't. You can't really carry much in the way of tools. Most can learn to be moderately competent electricians, though. Can they really, Soviet Ventures? Some people are just not suited to technical tasks. And when you work alongside them, it's frustrating because you can see them doing very wrong things or potentially putting you in danger. Goods Lift in London actually forcibly closed its doors on us in flight cases. We had the doors open for too long. Electroshed. That's called nudging. If you try and hold the doors open, there is a point that it will hold, and then if it's too long, it will just gradually, slowly just force the doors closed just to get things out the way. The head of the Agreco at Dumbarton is the president of Scottish Engineering. That says everything you need to know about Scottish engineering. Yes. Top smoke. Corporate. Entities. The Scooper event was real and can happen. Yes. Scrolling, 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 scrolling. Dr. Clive rants, therefore it is Dr. Rants, John Possum. They're medically approved. I'm out of coffee, says Monkey Man here. Top up with coffee. My first experience with Agreco, they sent a mechanic to wire up a generator. Jerry BVR, They're just all the guys I worked with were I thought they were electricians because they were doing all the electrical work. They were just labour. They weren't. And I said, so what's that training to give you? Not much. Just pick it up by word of mouth. And they've got a bad history in the entertainment industry for getting electric shocks. Because, yeah, let's not even go there. When was the last colonoscopy? Quite some time ago, Paul T. Can you alter water output in a 1 cup? No, you can't, Mondo Daffs a brush. Nudging, so don't collapse. They'll push to a degree. They can't chop you in half, but they'll try and push you out the way. Is there many McDonald's in Isle of Man? There is one Zen, which is considered a premium dining experience. Zen because, well, it's just there is only one, and it's considered international. There's also one KFC, I think, and a couple of Subways. And for the Karens, there's Starbucks. Electrobox. I remember getting my foot out of sync controlling a 10-ton press at a Ford factory. The doors closed in my arm. Luckily, I pulled my hand out in time. That's something, it's complacency. You just get so used to going through a pattern. There's this awful video on the internet of two guys operating a hydraulic press, and the old guy's putting the thing in, and the young guy's just, he looks a bit dopey, pushing the button to do it. And the young guy's just like daydreaming, and the old guy goes in, and then the young guy, just because he's done it so many times, pushes the button just as the old guy leans in to realign the metal, and you see it come down him and just crush him flat. And the guy's just like, he doesn't really know what to do because, you know, what do you do? You've just killed someone. That's a horrible video. There are the Summerland ruins there. Yes, Miss Dragcake, the Summerland ruins are there. Unfortunately, there's a permanent victim who was apparently in the Summerland thing. There's a memorial to it next to some gardens, but this permanent victim is just all she does is appear and moan about and whine about the injustice and how she's never been able to work since, and that she wants more memorials to her suffering, and it's like, fuck off. Get over it. It happened. There's a memorial there. That's enough. That was our super angry rant. I don't watch those types of vids. I don't normally watch them either, Franco Walker. I wasn't expecting it to actually happen. Memorial rant, indeed, a Scary West. How far do you go? Needy people, Brad. People who make a career out of suffering. Rants in hour 1, that is the statistics. And all the Karens jumping on saying, oh, poor you. Yes, you need more memorials. Yeah. She wants a memorial to memorial. Maybe we should do that, yes. Although, to be fair, the Summerland disaster is the reason I occasionally mention that if you get acoustic foam for your sound control, get the dust off it so it works, and make sure that you get the flame resistant stuff that won't sustain flame. It burns, it gives off smoke, but it won't sustain flame, particularly when vertical, because part of the problem at Summerland was it was vertical plastic glazing that caught fire, and it was polystyrene ceiling tiles. It was just basically set up to burn. Look it up online. The Summerland disaster, many lessons to be learned. They were not learned at the Station nightclub in America. Sadness is a means of income, Brad. Unfortunately, yes, and there are people who basically encourage that. Still drinking Lafroig here. Good choice, Signoroni. Signoroni, I think that got that right. A lot of the problem is the Isle of Man does this a lot. The government in the Isle of Man. A lot of the problem with Summerland was that there was a feud between the people who designed the building and the interior designers, who all had conflicting opinions, and it ended up with stairs that led nowhere and no proper exit routes. And then, because people were letting their friends in through by opening the exit doors, they padlocked them, chained and padlocked the exit doors shut. Then there was a fire, and people were found piled up behind the exit doors. They followed the fire exit signs, and it basically led them into a trap. It's a bit of a grim story, but something to learn from. Why is acoustic foam in your pocket? It's not in my pocket. It was down below the bench here. This is acoustic foam. That is acoustic foam. And this is acoustic foam. And that is also acoustic foam. The fire at the Sea Parks, indeed, yes. Foam is highly acoustic. It was freaky when I first put it up because I put up far too much acoustic foam and it dampens all the sound in this area. And it was odd not getting a sound reflection of my voice. Acoustic foam. That is acoustic foam. It's pool noodles from Pound Store. No, it is the proper acoustic foam. I very specifically bought it from a UK supplier, made in the UK, and flame treated. So it probably has boron compounds in it. I'm not really sure. But when I got it, the first thing I did was take some out and just try and set fire to it, test it. The Chinese stuff that says it's flame resistant isn't necessarily flame resistant. Get it from a trustable supplier. It's kind of cheaper getting it in the UK anyway because they pack it such that it's just interlocked. The V's are just interlocked with each other. So that basically two sheets sandwiched together like that. And it doesn't take a lot of space. The Chinese stuff, they squash it absolutely flat to minimize the postage. Can you eat the foam? I'm not sure about that. Far too much acoustic foam. There is far too much. Do you have the same foam in your bedroom? No. Would you consider building the Ben Eater computer in your channel? Not even sure what the Ben Eater computer is, Chase Colony. Who are you drinking a Jägermünchen to tonight? Well, the first one was to Barry Humphries, the actor. The second one was to something else. Forgotten. Oh, it was an unofficial one to Pool Paul. The last one was to... Not really sure what it was to. SpaceX, it was evolution to the SpaceX explosion. Because, well, that's one way to do your research. Maybe they blew it up deliberately. What about the next one's going to do? Total science is uncomfortable, it is. Bill Richards, my flat is pretty new and I watched the rest of the estate being built. They used a lot of acoustic dam between the flats. I still think I don't know why they do this. Why don't they just build fully independent buildings that everybody can have a space of their own without worrying about noise? OC review broadband absorbers. What's that, FPV? Was the SpaceX explosion actually a success? Anything Soviet ventures that involving that is a success in terms of data collection. Like a house, a detached house, yes, Norm Swan. Flat living isn't the future. Don't recommend it. This is where you have to go to cold parts of the world, because if you go to warm parts of the world, there's lots of people want to live there. And housing is in short supply and they gouge the prices. But go to Canada or Is it Montana? No, it's not. Dakota. And it's so cold and wintry that nobody wants to live there. So you can get loads of land and space. You just have to make do with the snow. Brad says my only sibling passed 5 years ago. His 23rd birthday would have been 7 days from today. You're welcome to have a shot for him next. I just kind of don't want to know why they passed. Was it medical or other? That's not great. Montana looks very nice. Sure about Montana. Is that mountainous? Dakota, I know that's where Mortsk. It is Mortsk. Jerry BVR. Did you see the Mortsk video where the local museum of all the tractors and stuff like that, the roof collapsed, didn't it? Not so great. Effective acoustic isolation construction is double stud walls where the studs don't touch, isolating from structural bound noise and vibration. Indeed, snorkers. Makes me think of a club that I worked on where there was basically two clubs next to each other. One had like absolutely like kilowatts of power in their audio system. And then there was a wall, and the guys had put a bit of fiberglass in it, and it was plasterboard, and it was supposed to be acoustic isolation. And the owner of the place, when the club at full volume next door says, "But I can still hear it," and it's like, of course you can fucking hear it. It's just like, what planet are you on? And then the lawyers downstairs complained because they could hear it as well during the day when we were testing it. And like, well, fuck you, lawyers. That's fine. Any requests? Finland is very low property price in the north. It is where it's cold. That's where all the engineers hang out, usually, Cambridge. Brandy Munion, Captain Picard, he's still alive. Dame Edna was conceived as a character in the mid-1950s. That's before I was born, Laura. That's ridiculous. That's a long-lasting character. When did he last do the Dame Edna character? Please talk about electrocutions, especially through the head. No, Oscar. No. Bright flashes of light. Excuse me. Montana's wide open, but those there are the crazy people. I see. Montana's more cows than people. Well, do you know what? Don't funger fick the cat. One of my friends here went all off and one about down at the Grand National, and she was saying, well, it's not fair that you're putting the horses down. You know, it's it's cruel to horses to put them down like that. And I had to say, well, without a reason for horses, there wouldn't be horses. You'd have to go to a zoo to see one. And I wanted to send her a video of all these horses galloping wild in huge packs, thousands of horses enjoying all the grassy green lands and galloping through snow to get to the grass. Except it was a Chinese horse farm for food, so I thought I better not send her that. G1 group, ZX Renew. No, it wasn't the G1 group. No, Stephen King knows what he's doing when he builds his clubs. It was not G1 group. It was someone who surprised me at his ability to run a big chain of nightclubs because he came across as being as thick as pig shit, to be honest. But then that is the secret to business success. Just the guy didn't see problems that were staring him in the face, and he just like blundered through. Scrolling up and down. I'm scrolling. Scrolling. I didn't realise we're talking about horse farms with millions of horses on them. Pretty spectacular. Tourists go and see the horses coming. As an audio engineer, not caring is a surefire way to not get any jobs anymore. Indeed, FPV Vogel. Jaeger time. It is indeed. To Brad's brother. I shall try and get more Jägermeister. I ran out unexpectedly. I was mad in a lab on the survivor garbages of what? Should I go and try and stay coronation? When is it? I don't really know. It's just pomp. Who cares? I don't get holidays anyway. Every day involves some element of work now. Just I'm not bothered by it, but it just if you're a YouTuber, you don't get a day off. Literally, you do not get a day off. It's not hard, but it consumes time. Sinclair Spectre's 41 years since launching. Sean, I didn't need to know that. I really didn't need to know that because that just makes me feel really old. Who's up for an anti-coronation party? We could do that, D.L. Monk. It's a main attraction in China. Indeed, Sam quotes M-A-N-E. I didn't realise how much horse I actually ate until there was a big controversy in the UK about horse meat being used instead of beef. And some Irish farmers, I think it was, had meat DNA tested to identify it. And then all the supermarkets started pulling food off the shelves. And all the microwave meals that I lived off, the lasagna, which had little bits of meat, like loads of it, and I'd be eating my lasagna and thinking, how can they make this for like whatever it was at the time, £1.50, and it's got so much meat in it? It must be like soy. And you're looking at it and it says, no, it's beef or meat or something like that. And it turned out it was horse. It was delicious. Have you got any annual leave booked? No. Even when I go to the tattoo, it's like a bit of a juggling act. Do you ever get random ideas at a total of like a suicide pill capsule filled with raw potassium? No, Elliot Veers. No, I don't get that. Do you do YouTube for fun and the money? Fanatical. Fun based. I quite enjoy doing YouTube. The money isn't the driving force. Is Horsler a thing? I guess it is, Simon Hopkins. Don't really know much. Will Jaeger surge? I doubt it because it doesn't have the carbonation in it. What time you end this stream? Around midnight? No, ELW. It'll be ending probably about 20 past, I would expect. So that's just over 15 minutes from now. RMC Retro, the cave. I think I know that one. The license to drive. Never been there. I think a friend does repairs there. Robert. Is a hands-on computer museum in my neck of the woods. Spectrum 3D Micros, Ataris, Amigas. You can come play in them all. I lent them 40 tabletop LCD games of mine. One does not lend a museum things. They will generally have them forevermore. To my knowledge, I've never had horse meat. Matt and Bally, to my knowledge, I'd never had horse meat either until suddenly the meat disappeared from the food. They could just say red meat. And you know, they took all that meat off the shelf that was horse meat based. All the food was taken off and just destroyed. And that's like not the correct way of doing things. Charles is okay, Moonwalk Dreamer. I quite like Prince Charles. He's more down to earth than other royals. Which is why that upsets the politicians. Do you do the shots anymore? Naomi Byrne, I do, yes. I had the Jaeger minions, yes. They're all gone. I could carbonate the Jaeger, then surge it. That would use quite a lot of Jägermeister, Web Devi. It was an insult when they just destroyed the meat, the chipmunk, the horses that had given up their lives for food and then basically just destroy it. It was just such a waste of food. There was just the media jumped on it and all the Karens whimpering as usual. Well, a horse is often shipped as sausage. That comment about the pepperoni. Prince Charles messes with scientists' careers. Does he really, treasure bloke? W. Davem. The horse meat and pepperoni, it's like when June's dad visited a while back, well, his dad is living with him now, he brought over this massive horse meat sausage thing. The horses didn't volunteer, neither did the cows, the owl monk. Clive has successfully hidden the Jägermeister Shiro memes. It is hidden. It is inside me. But it was also brandy because I ran out of Jägermeister. I must have another bottle somewhere here, but I can't find it. Don't know. Wait for it to come back in again. I'm not going to use the fake Jägermeister. I already did. I used brandy. Kangaroo tastes good. Well, technically speaking, we've got wallabies here. Never eaten them though. June's dad was awesome, the NBC stream. June's dad is just recovering after a hospital visit. Jason Green, he had internal bleeding, may have been an ulcer. Finish your radium gin. No, the radium gin is still up there hiding behind the supercomputer. There are wallabies in the Isle of Man. There are, Matamballi. They escaped from the wildlife park and then just started breeding, and everybody's quite happy about it. It just seems to be a good place for wallabies to breed. You don't see them much, except when one runs out in front of a car. I've had alligator bites, Verna de Wolf, in Florida, at Gatorland. Toast Bernie, there are no more toast, Craig Matthews. It's all gone. What was the advertising mode you spoke of earlier? Which version was it? Was it the WF1? It was. It was WF1 video wall driver, but it's a bit quirky. The software is flaky to say the least. You can connect it with your phone to actually put the scripts for advertising in, but it's very quirky. N. Osborne, my super putter is on for a little ambience. That's good. I've got more alcohol, Craig Matthews. I mean, there could be other things. Perhaps brandy wasn't the correct choice. I could have used other stuff. Right, off to Glasgow to Newcastle tomorrow. Ah, long trip, ZX Renew. Done that quite a lot. How much does your supercomputer cost, Monkey Man here? We're talking this thing up here. The circuit board is a free download that you can submit to GLC, PCB or whoever for 5 circuit boards, but that is quite expensive for getting them made and shipped. And then it's the flashing LEDs and resistors, so it's not that expensive, and a USB power supply. I've been drinking this methanol all evening. My mouth isn't far from nautical. Well, if you've been drinking methanol, that wouldn't be very good because that's the one that causes blindness. So drink lots of ethanol if you've done that. To me, the gator bites tasted a bit like chicken nuggets. Is there a pee bottle under that workbench? There isn't. The pee comes later, Pie Man. The pee comes in 11 minutes. You should see my glasses, says Fanautical. ZX Renew, you're based in Glasgow, says Grant Rennie. Indeed. Someday I'll have to organise a meet-up in Glasgow. I will be over in Glasgow in May. Can't remember the dates. But organising a meet-up, the snag is that the way people view the channel, they don't get the notification. I advertise it, but hard empty turns up because it's just not, the channel is big, so much content, people miss the notifications I should give lots of notifications before leading up to it. Hmm. Meetup live stream. Oh, I'm not sure about doing a live stream during a meetup 45 RPM. That'd be noisy. I don't think I released that video. Why I don't do meetups during a live stream. I don't live stream the meetups because it was just noisy, deafeningly noisy. That might have been a patron only thing, not sure. Meetup at the Pitch House this year, Clive. Well, we did last year. And if everything goes to plan in Edinburgh with the tattoo, then it will be this year as well. I wouldn't want to be in camera, Nautical. Well, you don't have to be in camera. Last year's Edinburgh meetup was quite busy-ish. And then Minky Mutu turned up right at the end just as I was leaving. There's a Glasgow Worldcon in May next year. All right, okay. Treasure bloke. Steve Odlers, I bought a ridiculously large screwdriver and I like it. I'm simple. I've bought hugely long screwdrivers in the past for no good reason other than the fact it looked quite a cool tool. It's useless. Weatherspoons. It was Weatherspoons, the Sky West. The last Glasgow one was organised at short notice and it was mobbed. I could hardly even get a table to stand at. Counting hours is so loud. It is a very loud, harsh chalk. It is very loud. Also, I was hoping to sit outside, but they said if you've not got a table, you can't sit outside, and it was just too busy. I shouldn't have done it at the weekend. I should have done it during the week. They're great as a levering tool. They are evolution. They're perfect for levering, unless used with excessive force and they change shape, but that's what happens. How about a meet up in your house? It may happen, GRS CO1, in the sense of come and take stuff away. That's what's going to happen probably in Glasgow at some point. Biggest con in Scotland is the entry fee into Edinburgh Castle. The biggest lucrative thing for historic Scotland, Simon quotes. They charge a lot for entrance. They treat it like a theme park with no theming. They don't even have like background music and, you know, even if it's just medieval-ish type. Not really sure what sort of music that they played back then, but do Disney and have like some performers playing instruments and wandering around, or people dressed up on the period costume. That would be really nice. No. Roller coaster? No. Nothing. Just rubble. It'll be a sad day when you move out of Glasgow, Electron Box. Well, I'll take Centaur. Centaur is here. It's going nowhere. I'll have the fridge, please. Why the fridge? It's an old fridge. If I had to eat dog or nothing, I'd probably eat dog, says Norm Swan. Do you know that the dogs that are eaten and cats in China are specifically a breed chosen that's not domestic pets they use? It's ones that are grown as a meat source. You have to just get your detachment from that. Not that I encourage eating dogs or cats. Can I have the flat, Nautical? You could buy the flat. Nice flat. It'll be disappointing. It'll be a sad day for me when I finally move away, Electron Box. My castle in the sky. It's nice and high up, very quiet. Buy it, I got £1. Yes, Nautical. Maybe a bit more than that. Well located for a 24-hour supermarket, which is handy, and the local train station going into, and a gym, and Lidl's. With a bit of a walk. And Aldi, it's well located in Shawlands for a BM Home Stores and the one down next to Aldi, and a big huge Poundland. I mean, what more could you want? And also an educational establishment. Centaur, pinball machine, David Van Delt. Brad says, yep, there are dogs and cats which bear cow-like characteristics, really. Extra meaty. Why are you leaving Glasgow, Nuts and Proud? Just because, well, there's no point living in two places at once. The hands are tied in the sense that because both me and Ralph are now getting old, we kind of have to live in the same place, and Ralph is set on living here, so I guess it's here. And a McD's, Clive. Oh, there is a McDonald's close by, and Subways. Everything's close by. Very close to get to the city centre very quickly in the train. It's a good location. It was good. Lovely view out the window. It's just into infinity. It literally goes into the distance. It's nice. So the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Yes, Luxor Labs. Where else would you want to live? The Monk, Canada, actually. But I don't think Ralph would be too pleased about that. Why do you stay in Glasgow and ditch IOM? It's just also, there's the fact that I don't want to live in a flat anymore because you are living in the vicinity of other people. And as time goes on, the factor and stuff like that is just, the amount of red tape is just increasing. And it's like, because I'm a bit nocturnal, I end up creeping around at night because I don't want to disturb the person who lives down below with creaky floorboards. Electrobox, you could rent your flat out to keep hold of it and get an income from it. The amount of red tape and politics that would involve is just beyond the realm of belief. Particularly because I'm currently registered in the Isle of Man. It's a nightmare. It's the pen pushers and officious people that make that extremely difficult. You can go to a hotel in Glasgow if you want. There's some cheap. That's what I'd end up doing. I would just basically. Does Ralph live with you? No. Do you play loud tunes in your Glasgow flat? Well, I used to with the jukebox. Didn't really think about it too much. Fortunately, the neighbour downstairs at that point in time was deaf. You'd have to register an offshore landlord. It's just the politics. I'm not interested in the politics. And it would also then, when I first moved over here, I ended up paying tax in the UK and the Isle of Man. Because it was so complicated, I ended up paying tax in both places in the same income, which meant that I was actually paying double tax. And there's this thing called double taxation relief, just stupidly fucking complicated. Fuck off, governments, you make life so complicated. Are you moving to the wrong place? Yes, possibly. Centaur to my son, final offer. Centaur is here and staying here, thank you very much. Centaur is next to Haunted House and 8 Ball Deluxe Limited Edition. It's not going anywhere. It's a rant because you just couldn't imagine. Taxation without representation. I'm also taxed in America. I just got the paperwork through of how much America took in tax, and I don't even live there because of the YouTube. It's complicated. It's just, they're just looking for ways to make money out of everything these days. Are you and Ralph moving into care home? The Isle of Man, Arthur Touches Jackson, is apparently where people come to die. That's what they call it. When's bedtime? Dunno. I think over time you'll like the quarter life in the Isle of Man, Matambali. It's frustrating at times. Yeah, very frustrating. Drew Dastardly, the zero tax is just not, that doesn't happen. It's the Isle of Man is considered a tax haven for rich people, but the majority of people who live here are not rich. It's complicated. And Capita who Capita, yes. Haunted House is my favourite pinball. Mine too. Only sleep a few days a week. That's not necessarily healthy, GH Sabs. Okay, in 2 decades you will, Clive. Yes. Who knows? There's no bedtime for the technical family. There's no official bedtime. Except when I'm working, I have to go to bed. Should pop it up to Liverpool. I should visit Liverpool, Paul Norman. You get taxed when you buy something, taxed when you sell something, tax. You'll miss the TV licence letters. What makes you think I don't get them here in the Isle of Man? Although that has stopped because of the stuff. No, we can't go to past. Did we go to past? We could go to past. It'd be nice and round. That'd be another 11 minutes. You don't have to stay for the whole stream, remember. It can end on woofle. Death and taxes, Mark Gray, that's it. Just you couldn't believe the politics. Frustrating. I use an accountant because I just couldn't deal with all the shit. It was just too much. I think that's the point of it. That's why the accountants designed the system for the government in the first place, keeping themselves in a job. That's another rant. Monkey Man here, tax to death. There is no capital gains tax now, man. That's one huge advantage, I think. Don't know what that means. Are you uploading another video tonight, during the night? Yes. Well, I'll be releasing an existing video that has been already released to Patreon. I'll release it on the main for general viewing, I think, because I think that's about right. Is it tonight, or is it... When did I release the last one? At least UK TV license pays for comprehensive services, Laura. Right. 44% of my paycheck goes to government, then I have to pay 6% steel tax, everything I buy, and utility tax, phone tax, etc. I keep about 39% of my hourly wage. Yeah, scruff dog, that's what it's like here. Anyway, enough talk about tax. It's a very, very tedious and boring subject, and reminds me my tax return stuff is due and is in several currencies, and it's like, oh, fuck, I don't want to start that. That's complex. Not to worry. The Beatles moved to the US because of UK taxes. They are quite severe. Has to be done by May the 15th? No. Fanatico, I don't think it does. Nice to put a face to the voice. Neil's were here. Hopefully it was something acceptable. An acceptable face. Have you thought about installing a stripper pole to liven up the streams? No, because if I put a stripper pole here, I'd literally have to squeeze by it every time I came through here. UK tax will be done by 31st January. That's more or less. It has to be paid by a time in January, but submitted by October. Did you hear that Big Mick retired after COVID? FP Vogo, not sure. Big Mick. Can it end at midnight? No, it can't. No, there's no plans to release another Fanny Flambeau video. There's nowhere to film it. Sitting at that table, the table's still there, but fitting in behind it and the stuff in the vicinity. Can I do a tax return for you? No, you can't. I want it done correctly. That's why I've got an accountant that I submit my stuff to them. 31st for self-assessment, ZX Renew. How do you pronounce Graham? I say Graham. It could be Graham. We like bearded people in man, Mike 5. The other man has a lot of beards. I could wear a crotchless overall that I know, because that involves in groinal contact the pole. That's not a good idea. I'm far too honest with the books. They're boring. Very boring. Who makes the little light badge you have on? That is Mouse. Has Mouse been here tonight? I haven't seen Mouse tonight. He may be building little robots for fighting. But you can get the little supercomputer badge on Tindy. He can't sell it on... what's the other one? The other one that he was selling it on before Etsy, because they took it down because they said it was dangerous and babies could eat the battery or swallow it or something like that. Evolution, it's not Etsy for this though, it's Tindy. He had to move away from Etsy. He's got some stuff in Tindy and some stuff in Etsy. Hutchie, Black Cat sighting, indeed, Kevin Hutchie. Hutchie has been by, and the little black cat, mystery black cat, who is very bold, but shy. Where can you buy some juicy lead-based soda from now, Clive? GRSCO1. That depends on where you are in the world, but you can find it. Karen's killed supercomputer sales. They did, Monkey Man here. Given the frequency at which someone was targeting Mouse to get the stuff taken down by the look of it. Ah. Are you cooking the books? I am not cooking the books, Brendan. I'm declaring them honestly. Take you on all the scaremongering. I'm now fully bearded and happy with it. However, the girlfriend is mixed about it, John Robinson. Well, if she doesn't like it, tell her to shave her hair off and see how she likes being told how to look. They've been in Etsy again for a while, have they, Evolution? That's good. He had to put a safety device on, but I thought he took them off again. Etsy. That's mixed banner. You have to make sure that if you're eating a baby, you have to make sure with a metal detector that it's not got batteries in it. What's the best composition of the soda? I just use 60-40. 60% tin, 40% lead. I got 250-gram roll of leaded soda around last week. The L1 kit will be a price. £2 is pretty good, actually. That's very good, actually. RS only supplies lead soda professionals. That's why you have to fake it and be bold. It is 4 minutes to the last whiffle. The batteries are just slotted up. They are. If you're concerned about wee babies eating batteries, use a condom and prevent the babies in the first place. If you're to open a makerspace in a small city, what tools would you have to see there? A lathe would be nice, but you know what? It's finding one. The Isle of Man is so hard to ship stuff to. Rather disappointingly, a local engineering company closed down not long ago, and their tools are all sold off for peanuts to somebody. I hope the person that bought them really actually appreciates them, but I get the feeling that it was just someone adding to a collection, some rich person. Not really sure. It is not ROS compliant, that's fine. 3D print, there'd be 3D printers, yep. Now what is this one? I don't know if I've got the composition of this one on it. No, it's just basically, yeah, I don't know what the composition of this is. This one is Loctite from Phil Dixon. He sent me a roll of it. Where is the specification for this? Alloy, 60 EN, 90, yeah, fuck, I can't read that. It's tiny. Chris Hart, I use the name Chris Hartley Electrical, they don't check. What? Oh yeah, they don't. The whole point when you go into RS and the trade counter is they have to ask if you are a company, and all you have to do is say yes, it ticks their box. They're not going to say, we're not going to supply you if you're not a company. All they want you to do is say you are a company to tick their box for legal reasons. It's fine, don't worry about it. Is that eutectic? All solder points have a eutectic point, Top Smoke. The Loctite solder is the old Urson multicore, Bill Richards. That'd be good if it was. Let's clad buildings in lead and tinfoil hats. Should have gone to Specsavers. Other opticians are available. I need new glasses soon. I think, Mark Gray, I'm going to have to do it again, I think. But they're okay at the moment. I get it delivered to work, says David Collins Cubitt. Don't just ignore all the officialdom. You know, it's just their whole existence is based on bluff and scaremongering and just misinformation. So if you want lead-based soda, just tick the box. Just say you're a company using it for an application that's specifically needed. Tell them it's a military application or a medical application and that you need the lead-based soda, but don't make it sound too unconvinced. Just go and ask for lead-based soda. Fuck it, just get it. Get your eyes lasered. No, fanatical. No intention of doing that. It's not a good choice. Specsavers just around £333 new glasses. Tony Weavers, they are prone to upselling. You have to be very careful. If you got the prescription from them, you can get new glasses online from Glasses Direct and other companies. I think it would be very hard to make your own soda, Dennis, that's quite scientifically accurate to get the correct ratios. But anyway, the stream is coming to an end. It's going to end on a woofle. And I shall catch the patrons on Thursday and the rest of you on Saturday. I have considered doing another stream, not sure, on the main channel. But I'm not sure about that yet. You know what it's like. Just everybody will unsubscribe because I'm so ugly. Anyway, woofling. Woofle. And the final woofle of the night. Woofling. But anyway, have a good week. And I shall catch up to you in due course. I'll just go and check if I should be releasing a video right now. If one is ripe for release right now, I shall release it right now. So until next week, have a good week and take care. Awkward moment.